That third stage is initiative versus guilt, and that happens from 3 to 6. And the virtue that is learned from that is purpose. And that's goal setting. Children meet challenges, assume responsibility, identify rights of others. Okay. So during this time, children are learning to set goals for themselves. They're learning to kind of be independent. They're assuming responsibility. They're identifying rights of others. They're giving people their personal space. This is a good time to build purpose in your life. If you miss this time in life, you end up feeling guilty about where you're at or what you bring to the table, and people aren't allowing you to be yourself. Okay. Industry versus inferiority or competence. Children master social and academic skills or feel inferior. Sometimes, if students are not able to perform well or up against other students during this stage, they will feel inferior to their peers. So, this is a chance where they feel competent. Okay, when they leave this stage or they go through this crisis or task, or they complete this task, they will have competence. Okay, and that is the virtue you leave with in industry versus inferiority, and that's from 6 to 11 years old. The next one is identity versus role confusion or adolescence. And the skill that you learn or the virtue that you take from that is fidelity, which is the ability to commit. Or can we commit? This is an adolescence, and it's identity versus role confusion. And sometimes, if they can't identify, they or be themselves. And I think I might have said that a little bit in initiative versus guilt. But if you can't identify who you are and what you bring to the table, sometimes you get confused. Okay. Individuals establish social and vocational roles and identities, or is confused about adult roles. At this point, you're saying, when I grow up, this is what I want to be. If you don't feel safe being that, you kind of get an identity crisis. You don't know who you are or what you're supposed to be doing. You take on other people's roles instead of the ones that you really feel for yourself. The next one is early adulthood, and it's intimacy versus isolation. And the virtue that you take from this one is love. This is a time of your life where you're falling in love, where you're deciding about your mate, about your partner, who you're going to love for the rest of your life. Young adults are seeking that. If they can't find love in their lives, they end up isolated. So that's why it's intimacy versus isolation. Okay. And that's early adulthood from about 21 to or 20 to 40 years old. Okay. And that's considered early adulthood. Um, and the next one is generativity versus stagnation, and that's middle adulthood. And the virtue is care. Okay, investment in the future. At this time in your life, you're trying to invest in young people, give back to your community, make sure you establish a purpose here on earth, or that you have done all you can, and kind of like making sure that you have fulfilled your purpose in life, or that you're doing something that's going to build the next generation. You're investing in things. You're producing something of value. You have a family at this time. You have co-workers at this time that maybe you've been working with for years, and you're really in that family. You're raising children. You're right in the thick of that time, in this middle-aged time. Okay. The next one is integrity versus despair, and that's later adulthood. The virtue you take from that is wisdom. Older adults view life as meaningful and positive, or with regrets. At this time, you're saying, and it's something else I wanted to go back and say about generativity versus stagnation. If you don't feel like you're contributing to society or doing anything meaningful with your life, you will feel a sense of stagnation. And that's the crisis that you run into in that stage if you don't complete, the generativity. If you're not generous, if you're not able to give of your time or your money, or set up a fund, or do something to give back to your community or to your children, or anything that's meaningful in the world, you end up stagnant. You end up feeling stuck, or like you don't know which direction you're going in, and you're kind of like running out of time. Integrity versus despair is later adulthood, and that virtue would be wisdom. Okay, older adults view life as meaningful and positive with regrets. Erikson viewed life as in a constant change. The social context is important in the development of personality. Okay. Older adults, they have integrity. They feel like, okay, I accomplished everything I wanted to do in life. I was able to give back. I found the love of my life. I was able to commit. I was competent in my industry versus inferiority. I had purpose in initiative versus guilt. I ended up having initiative. I didn't feel guilt about who I was. Autonomy versus shame, and the will. I have a will, a sense of self and autonomy over myself. And obviously in infancy I build trust with my parent or my caregiver. And so I end up feeling integrous. I feel wisdom. I feel good about the life that I live because I met all of these competencies. I went through all these stages and I took every virtue from them. And I was able to live a good life. That would you be considered someone who lived a good life. And despair is someone who may look back in those different stages or look back over their life and decide, like, I didn't do everything I wanted to do. I didn't gain the trust of people. I didn't get hope. I didn't have free will. I didn't have a good sense of self. I don't feel like my purpose was fulfilled. I don't feel competent. I wasn't able to commit. I never gained true love. And I didn't get to care for the people around me that I loved. And so all of these things kind of like come one after another, even though you can go through the stages at different times and not fulfill each one, they all kind of stack on each other. If you look at them, trust is built first, autonomy is next, initiative is after that, industry is built next. And you kind of can't have one without the other because they all feel complete if you don't have them all at once, or they don't all come behind each other. So anyway, that's Erik Erickson. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I know it's about 7 minutes long. I hope it was good. I wanted to make it quick. If you guys have questions or comments or you're enjoying the videos, please let me know. I'm trying to pour my heart and soul into these videos after a 9 to 5 shift. I'm leaving. I am in the integrity versus stagnation stage of my life, according to Erik Erickson, because I'm over 40. I'm considered a middle-aged adult, and I'm just trying to give back to the community, which is another reason why I started Girl Talk. Even though I started Girl Talk when I was in my intimacy versus isolation stage, as an early adult, it just kind of spilled over. And this is my opportunity to give back to my community and tell you guys about where you may be mentally. And I hope these videos are helping. I hope that you're learning something from me because I absolutely love doing what I do. Anyway, I love y'all. Comment, like, share, do all the things. And I appreciate you guys watching my videos. All right. I'll see you guys next week. I love you. Bye.